Doctor, your ethical code obligates you to testify truthfully, honestly, and candidly in any and all legal proceedings, correct?
Yes.
And in particular, standard 7.04a of your ethical code states, A, in forensic testimony and reports, psychologists testify truthfully, honestly, and candidly, and, consistent with applicable legal procedures, describe fairly the bases for their testimony and conclusions. Now, my question. This standard applies to your professional work, correct?
Oh, yes, yes.
And standard 7.04b of your ethical code states, quote, when necessary to avoid misleading, psychologists acknowledge the limits of their data or conclusions. Now, my question. And you are obligated to comply with these ethical standards, correct?
Yes.
Now, the relevant research identifies many problems related to the various diagnostic classifications of the DSM IV, correct?
Yes.
Consider, for example, a 1999 article that appeared in the journal The American Psychologist. You're familiar with The American Psychologist, are you not?
Oh, yes.
And first of all, The American Psychologist is the flagship journal of the American Psychological Association, isn't it?
Yes.
Each and every member of the American Psychological Association does not necessarily receive all of the journals of the American Psychological Association.
No.
But every member of the American Psychological Association receives The American Psychologist, correct?
That is correct.
And a 1999 article by Peterson and Tierweiler, published in the American Psychologist, entitled Scholarship in Psychology, The Advantages of an Expanded Vision, could be related to your testimony in this matter, couldn't it?
Could be.
Now, consider the following statement from Peterson and Tierweiler's 1999 article. I'll read a quote. Quote, it is hard to think of any academic or professional colleague who does not discuss the DSM IV with a skeptical grain of salt as simply a modestly useful convention to be observed, unquote. Now, my question. Ethically, you would agree with this, would you not?
Well, I don't know. There may be some accuracy to it.
Thank you. And you have not published anything in a peer-reviewed journal that would necessitate reconsidering Peterson and Tierweiler's position with respect to the DSM-IV, have you?
No.
And you cannot cite any data published in a peer-reviewed journal that would necessitate reconsidering Peterson and Tierweiler's position, correct?
Well, spontaneously, as I sit here off the top of my head, no.
Thank you. That's what we're doing here. We're asking you questions today, right now. And if the DSM-IV amounts to no more than a, quote, modestly useful convention, unquote, ethical standard 7.04a and b obligate you to respond accordingly, correct?
If that's the case, yes.
Now, the American Journal of Forensic Psychology is a generally accepted peer-reviewed journal in your field, correct?
Yes.
And a 1999 article by Campbell published in the American Journal of Forensic Psychology entitled Challenging the Evidentiary Reliability of DSM-IV could be relevant to your opinions in this case, correct?
It could be.
Now, please consider the following statement from Dr. Campbell's 1999 article, and let me just read a portion. Quote, as a psychologist, I am ethically obligated to, 1, express significant reservations regarding the accuracy or limitations of my interpretations, and 2, to acknowledge the limits of my data and conclusions, unquote. Now, my question. According to your ethical code, you're obligated to act in the same way, correct?
Yes, yes.
Now, please consider this statement from the 1999 article by Campbell published in the American Journal of Forensic Psychology, and I'll quote. Consequently, ethically mandated considerations of truth and candor related to my work obligate me to make the following disclaimer. There are many limitations related to DSM-IV in general, and an unknown margin of error associated with any DSM-IV diagnostic classification in particular, unquote. Now, my question, Doctor. According to your ethical code, you're obligated to acknowledge these same problems with the DSM-IV, correct?
Yes.
Thank you. Now, one last quote from this article I'd like to draw your attention to in this 1999 article in the American Journal of Forensic Psychology, and I'll quote, at this point in time, the DSM-IV provides mental health professionals with a common vernacular that may assist them in communicating with each other. There are no data currently available demonstrating that the DSM-IV leads to reliable diagnostic conclusions, unquote. Now, my question, Doctor. According to your ethical code, you're obligated to recognize these problems with the DSM IV, correct?
Yes.
And you have not published any data in a peer-reviewed journal necessitating that we reconsider Campbell's conclusions, correct?
No.
And as you sit here today, sir, you cannot cite any data published in a peer-reviewed scientific journal necessitating that we reconsider Campbell's conclusions, correct?
No, I didn't know you were going to be asking those kinds of questions.
Well, I am, sir. And there is an unknown margin of error associated with the DSM-IV diagnostic classification. Isn't that true?
That appears to be the case.
And you have not published any data in a peer-reviewed journal necessitating that we reconsider Campbell's conclusion regarding this unknown margin of error, correct?
No, not.
And you cannot cite any data in a peer-reviewed published scientific journal necessitating that we reconsider Campbell's conclusions regarding the unknown margin of error in the DSM-IV, correct?
No.
And there are no currently available data demonstrating that the DSM-IV leads to reliable diagnostic findings. Isn't that true?
That appears to be the case.
And you have not published any data in a peer-reviewed journal necessitating that we would have to reconsider Campbell's conclusions and the conclusions of others, that there are no currently available data demonstrating that DSM-IV leads to reliable diagnostic findings, correct?
That is correct.
And you can't cite any data published in a peer-reviewed journal necessitating that we reconsider those conclusions, can you?
No.
Therefore, doctor, at best, the DSM-IV provides a mental health professional a common vernacular to use with other mental health professionals that may assist them in communicating with each other, correct?
Yes.
And you have not published any data in a peer-reviewed journal necessitating that we alter that conclusion?
No.
And as you sit here today, you can't cite any data in a peer-reviewed journal published by anyone else necessitating that we reconsider that conclusion?
No, I think everybody would agree about the common vernacular.
Thank you. And your ethical code obligates you as a psychologist to acknowledge these many problems associated with the DSM-IV, correct?
If those problems exist, as they seem to, yes.
And as they seem to, you're ethically obligated to describe them in your work and in your testimony, correct?
Correct.
Thank you.